this part we'll have a look at the steam launches, although I think the correct term is a steam pinnace. So MK models supply or replace the whole upper works with photo etch, and initially that's where I was going to go down that route. In close inspection there's a few bits I'm not happy with or not a fan, so I don't like this part here, because I do actually prefer the open well here. In this cabin, the Pontos is a lot nicer shape. So I've actually decided I'm just going to go down the whole Pontos route. I've cut out all the photo edge parts, and the plastic parts themselves are really quite nicely moulded. So according to the instructions, we need to remove this here, the skylight, and that's it for the top. On the hull, we also have to remove the prop shaft assembly. Now, these lumps and bumps, I think they're supposed to represent like rope fenders that hang over the side to protect the hull. I'm going to remove these as well. They look a bit average, so at the front as well. I haven't decided what I'll do yet. I've got an idea to replace them, but I wouldn't use as much as that, maybe every second one in the front as well, or I just might leave it off. I have seen photos of the real ones, although they were Royal Navy, but the Mikasa was built in Britain, and it just had a thick cable or rope stuck to the side, but I'll worry about that down the track. So the first thing is to start removing all these parts now. Okay, for the cleanup of the lower hull, just put a thin strip of tape there. That's just to give me a line to work to so I don't go too far. And it's a case of just remove all these nubs working up to the line. And the same at the front here. I'm going to take a bulk of this off. Okay, so we'll continue with that. On the underside, got the prop shaft. There is a bit of a mismatch in the mould halves. So you've got a step ridge here, and I don't know if you can see, the heights are slightly different. It won't matter overall. Once we clean this up, we can just make that the same line. And you can see it slightly at the front as well. Okay, so I'll go and finish cleaning this up. So we can now take off the remainder that's been left behind. And for that, we'll just come in with the rough sanding stick. And we can just work down through each one. And we just keep working down until we get them all flush and in the same line. Okay, so with that now, one line. If you have a look underneath, I don't know if you can see, but where the fenders were, they actually went down a bit into the hull, particularly at the front. So we just take that down, again using the sander. Because they were a bit deeper than the normal line. You can see it there. And then we just need to tidy up the front. So I'm just going to come in with a chisel here. Just cut into the line a wee bit. We just come in with this smoother grip. We'll just do a final clean up. Okay, so with the edges cleaned up, we'll now go to the keel. So due to the mismatch, there's a bit of a centre line, and it's a bit rounded as well. So we'll just come in, we'll square everything up. hopefully you can see the lines there. That's what we're trying to get rid of. And then of course we've got this bit here that we need to, actually that's good to see the mismatch as well. And then where the sprue gates were, we can just tidy up the sides of them. We'll go into the stern now, the stern counter. So remember there's, as you can see, there's quite a mismatch. So we just need to clean up this back bit now. Where the sprue gate was, it was quite a sunken area once you remove this sprue gate. So I just put in some sprue glue. And now we'll just clean this up. So we've got a nice good edge to work to, so we can keep it flat. So we just take our time and just slowly work down. Again, we want to maintain the shape, we don't want to change the profile. So it's not too bad at the upper edge, just at the bottom there, you can still see that line. Okay, so we'll just come in with the finer grit, just to move any scratches. And then while we're here, we'll just be as well fixing up the mismatch and the rest of it. So again, going back to the 400. Go to the top now. We'll go down to 600, because remember we don't want to take off too much, because then things might start not fitting. Just enough to get rid of the lines. Okay, that looks pretty good there. And now we'll just finish this. So again, got a massive step. We'll use a soft sanding stick here just to maintain the curve. You can see it conforms to the roundness. And we'll use a finer grit to finish with. It looks to be a couple of little dimples as well. So I'll just fill them with Mr. Surfacer 500. That's the hull ready now. So we'll move on to the upper hull. On the upper hull, I'm just going to use the razor blade saw just to come through and take off the bulk of the material. I'll just put on tape to protect any scratches to the deck. Okay, so I'll finish this off as well, and then we can come back once we're done. So this rear block, I'll just come in with a chisel. I started cutting horizontally along, but I'll come down vertically with a chisel. Okay, so we need to remove the bits that's left. So what I've done is I've used a chisel and just worked my way in and all the way around. Now it takes a bit longer than scraping and sanding, but it's a lot cleaner. And of course you have to be careful you don't slip, because you don't want to cut your fingers, but you just keep working your way in. And then you finally get it to this stage. You just can come in and then just chop that off. Okay. Can't just scrape it back. Now we've still this block to remove. So what we can do, we can come in. Then we can slowly slice it off. Now we can get it right down to the finished surface. Okay, so it's good because it saves like sand into like an awkward spot. Okay, and then this last bit here we can just scrape back. So we'll just do exactly the same for the top part. We'll just keep working our way in all the way around. Okay, so that's the bits removed and cleaned up. It's come out not too bad. The last thing we need to do to this modification wise is there's 3 portholes here and 2 on this part supplied by Pontos. So I'll just put a bit of tape because as you can see the curve of the hull, but we'll keep them in line with the horizontal surfaces. So they're not very clear where they go, but I'll just line it up with this point here. I'll just make a center mark. And then I'll line it up with this one here where we've removed the skylight. Okay. And then the last one, I'll just split the difference. So hole to hole we've got 11 or 10.5 mil. Okay. So I'll just make it 5. For this front part, the strange shape, I believe this is a hatch, or you can actually, in real life, fit like a 37-47mm quick firing gun in there. So I've kind of tried to carry this line across. It's a bit low, but you can see the shoulders here, so I've kind of made it horizontal with that. And I'll just make a center point in each of the corners. So the front one's going to be a bit low, but will be in line horizontally. And then I'm just going to drill these out with a 1mm drill. Don't need to go all the way through. It's not that thick. I have to watch this one here because we've got a funnel that goes into there, and as you can see, it's actually got a socket, so don't want to damage the socket as the drill comes through. Could probably stop there. So I went through anyway. And I've just stopped from damaging that socket. Not quite equidistant, but that's okay. We'll see what these ones look like. Gets a little better once we've got the porthole on. So I'll finish these, and that's the center stage now to glue the halves together. Okay, so that's the portholes drilled out now. The other one was just annoying me. not being centered. So I've just plugged it with some stretched sprue. Okay, no, I thought that was it, but there's one other thing we need to do. And then, so on the funnel, which is Pontos supplied, when you put it into its location, you can see it doesn't sit flat down, and that's because it's interfering with these blocks. These blocks are interfering with it. It's just slightly too wide on the corner. So we'll just pare down these blocks on each side just to get some clearance. It doesn't need much. We'll just come in. Just pare down a fraction. Make sure it's... See if that's better. No, it's still something. I actually need to take just the corners off. Oh, okay. I'm actually an idiot. There's a step there. That's why it's not going down flush. I wonder if they're both like that. Yeah, they've both got that step. But it makes it look a bit unfinished. So rather than pair it, what I think I'll do. Okay, so that's 2 mil, that step. Overall, it's 3, so about half a mil. I'm going to bore it up. So I'll probably mangle these up unnecessarily. Let's have a look. Just okay, that's much better. See how it's sitting flush now. Let's have a look at this one. So I haven't touched the blocks of this one, so hopefully I don't need to. Oh yeah, so that's sitting in there nicely, nice and flat, without touching the block. So I've messed these up for no reason. You live and learn. Okay, let's have a look at the full wedge while we're waiting for this. Okay, so we'll solder up the rudder and the prop shaft support. So we'll just initiate the bend. These are so fine, we won't need to use any holders or clamps or anything. We need to be careful with this one because of the legs need to be bent out, so we need to make sure we don't solder them together. So I might just move these out the way now. Oh, don't overdo it because it's not going to take multiple bends. So for other ones, I normally close them up and put the solder around the edges, but I'm actually going to put the solder on the part, on the actual faces this time. Okay, I'll just clamp this one. Okay, so just apply the heat. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to do the same for this one actually. I'm just going to stick it into the little tweezers here. I just need to make sure the two halves, just making sure the two halves are parallel. I might just do the tail end here first, satisfy that the two halves are really hard together. So I'll just use the tweezers to hold it flat. Okay, so I'll do the other two. Okay, we'll move on to the skylights now. I find these very tricky because you've got several bends on very thin parts right next to each other, so... Okay, let's see if we can gripping this so tightly. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see there's a center bar there, and that's what we're trying to keep flat. We now have to bend that center bar without keeping it flat and without interfering with the already bent parts. Okay, not too bad. And now we need to bend that last bottom section so it's vertical. And then we need to close the ends. Okay, so what I think I'll do is I'll load up the inside of one end that's more or less there. I don't think I should have fluxed this, it's just... Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just hold the heat to the outside. I'll just do the same to the... I've got a couple of mesh panes to go in there, but what I might do is just come in and fill in the edges on the outside. Actually, let's have a look at that. Strange because we've got like these two flanges here, which it suggests that they bend over onto the flat section, but to be honest, it's so minute, there's absolutely no way you'd bend that without distorting the grill. So I think I'm just going to put it straight on. I might just super glue these on. It's kind of impossible to, because it's at an angle, it's hard, I can't hold it without, or maybe I can't. Okay, let's try this. Making sure it doesn't move when I touch it with the soldering. So I actually need 3 hands here. So if I use this to hold it, it's not very centered, so I'll try and take it off again and redo. Okay, so I finally got the grills on. Apologies I didn't show it, but it was just so frustrating, it just took forever. The problem I have now is for the second one, I had the same struggles, but the actual frame started falling apart at the fold lines, so it's now in multiple parts. So as a solution, I measured up the brass one and 3D printed a couple of examples here. So I did just the framework, because I wasn't sure if we'd be able to print that fine bars from the grill, and it actually worked, so it's really good. For the frame, the intent was to attach the photo etch grills to that if this didn't work. But I'll put them on anyway, and we'll have a look to see what's the best looking one. I'm absolutely amazed that these bars printed the way they did, considering how fine they are. But we'll have a look at them all together, see what option I go with. Okay, so let's fold up and solder the rear main cabin. So hopefully you can see there's some etch marks in there for the bends. So we'll just put on a bit of soft, it's fairly rigid foam, which is good. We'll just use drill bits to make the bends. So this is a 0.8 I'm using here. As you can see, we've started to fold down. And then we'll use a different bit for the front. Okay, so start just pushing in, and we'll take the top down. And hopefully you can see it's not too bad there. This back edge just needs to come in a wee bit tighter. It's better. So the carbon top sits on the top of the side walls. So we'll just try and line up the front there. So I'll just hold it flush at the front there. We'll just apply some flux right to the corner. We'll probably keep back a wee bit from the front edge where the curve is, because we want to be able to move that for final adjustment. And then we'll just run some solder right into the corner there. Okay. So we'll just run the face of the soldering iron along the edge and the face of the carbon. Just like that, a few seconds to set up. As you can see, we're back from the front edge, from that bend, but that's good, that's what we want. So now we'll just manipulate this side into position as well. And again, we'll just grip it. I'm just going to run the soldering iron inside this time, because I don't want the heat to build up and affect the other side, so this will be quicker for heat transfer. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So now we just need to manipulate this very front edges. Again, I'm just trying to get the iron right in there. That's looking pretty good. Wee tiny bit of a gap, but I think you have to be really accurate with your bends. So now it's just a case of a wee bit of flow through there. Just need to clean this up now. Okay, so that's really it. So we've got some handles to go on. I think I'll try and solder them as well. Okay, so it's just a case of holding it and holding the iron against it. I'll do the rest off camera, but that's the idea of it. It's a bit too tricky to do it at a distance. Okay, so that's handrails on. So we're done with the carbons now. Okay, so the last thing to solder up is the ship's wheel and its mounting point. So we'll just hold the mount in this clamp. We'll push it down so it's flush. And we'll just put the tiniest amount of paste on the little prong. I don't know if you can see the wheel actually has a slot. And then we'll just apply the heat. The last part to prepare is this ship's ventilator. Now, there's 3 of them on the boats, and they go into these positions here. Now, they're not too bad. You really need to drill out the opening. Could mark it with a needle and then come in with various sizes of drills. However, I thought this was a good opportunity to try 3D printing them again. I'm not sure how much you can see, but they're really fine. The ventilator wall, it's only 0.2 millimeters thick. They're still uncured, so they're still flexible. You see it returns to shape. I also tried different layouts and support options, but these ones here will be the easiest to clean up. Don't know if you can see, I'm also able to make a hole down inside. So I'll clean these up and we'll put them on. So we can now join the 2 halves. Now, the upper works is maybe a bit short, because if you hold it nice there, there's a bit gapped at the front. Now if I push it forward, it closes up nicely, but you can see the line there. So it's easier to fill in a straight line than to fill in the curve. So I'm actually going to glue this by pushing it forward as far as it will go tight into the bow. And there is a ledge there. And I'm only going to do the glue up in sections. Okay, so it's nice and tight up there. Okay, that's it. Just a bit of squeeze out we can clean up. That's easy enough to scrape down with the chisel. Okay, so you can see just how much of a gap there is to fill. Okay, so I've only got, I think that's 0.5 plastic cards. So I've shaved and pared it down on the edge here. So we'll get that glued in. And we'll just leave that and then we can trim it off. And I'll do the same for the other one. Okay, we'll start adding all the parts now. We'll do the portholes first. And I don't know if Pontos gave us too little, because we need 20. I've only got 18, or whether I've lost a couple, which I don't think I did. So I'll just leave 2 off in the same location on one of them, I guess. I'm going to use Tamiya Clear to fit them. I haven't used this method before. It's far too much. Okay, we'll try again. It's far too much that first time. Oh, I definitely lost that one. Yeah, so they seem to be sticking on very good. I'll have to try and find that other one that's short off. Okay, so that's one side done. I'll do the rest. If I can't find that other one, what I'll do is on one side I'll leave 3 off, and then when it's on the ship I'll put that to the inside. We'll attach the skylight next. So I'm going to use the 3D printed ones. And I'm just going to use some super glue gel just in the corners. And I've put some tape on there just to give me something to align to. That's one thing about resin and super glue. It grabs almost instantly, even if it was a gel. I forgot to mention, I forgot I had generic portholes from my card modelling days, so I put a couple on there. They're not as good as the Pontos ones, but at least it gives a bit of relief. So we'll do the funnels now. I'm just going to put the rear two ones in. I'm going to leave the front one off and paint that separately. So I'm just going to use some crystal clear just right in the very end. Okay, maybe a bit tilted forward, but I think that must be the socket, because even the kit part was like that as well. I might apply the crystal to the hole instead. Might make it a bit easier to hold. Here we go, it's better. We've got these parts to put onto the stern, and they secure the rudder, so we just need to bend them. Simple 90-degree bend. And I think I'll just apply some super glue gel, because it's So the last thing I want to install at this stage is the prop shaft. Just have to see how wide to make the supports. I think it needs to be a bit wider yet. I'm going to try and base it on the plastic supports we cut off for width. So I just need to open them up a wee bit. So again, I'm going to use super glue gel. Okay. Again, sits a bit lower than the hull, so we'll have to be careful how we handle this. Okay, everything seems to be aligned. Right, so there's a few other bits and pieces, but I'm not adding them at the moment. There's the wheel, the funnel, front vent, which I'm leaving off, and the back cabin. But again, I'll put that on after paint. I'm just going to highlight something here. So I think Pontos has messed up the size of this cabin, because in real life, I'm pretty sure it goes up to that back edge, because these are seating areas, and I think you should be able to go through from there into the cabin. But of course it's too short, because you've got that hole that was left. So the Pontos instructions showed sitting slightly forward, which I don't think is correct, but I'll do the same anyway. We'll now get these into paint. Okay, so I've prepared all the parts ready for priming. With the boats, I just super glued a cocktail stick through the hole to the base and to the edge, because it is quite weighty, and I'll just hold it. enough for airbrushing. So we'll get onto the prime next. So that's the launch or Pinnace all primed up, ready to go. So I'll do the deck first, and for that I'm going to use Mr. Color C44 tan or light brown. So with the deck paint set up, we now want to mask it off. So I've just cut thin strips of Tamiya tape. Now it's just a case of taking our time and masking against the various structures. Okay, so I'll do a perimeter around each of the parts, and then we can just block it out. Okay, so I've masked them both up. These are now ready for the top coat of the grey hull colour. I just used Ammo's liquid mask on these corners because they're quite low, tight corners, so it was easier just to touch them with that. We'll see how it goes. It's the first time I've used it, I think. So let's get the top coat on now. So that's the main coat done. Next thing to do is the anti-fouling on the underside. So I need to determine just how far up it goes and then mask it up. So I'll go and do that now. Okay, so I held the boat down onto just a block of MDF and strapped it down level. And then this is 5mm balsa with just some lead super glue to it. I'll just mark along the hull at various points. And that gives me a line to work to make it level. So now just a case of masking that up. Alright, so that's the line of the anti-fouling marked on. It's fairly straight. A bit awkward at the end where you've got the big curve and sweeping counter. So of course, the wider the tape, the less it likes being curved. Just burnish down any edges so don't get paint bleeding underneath. We're all masked up. We'll use LP18 dull red for the anti-fouling. Okay, so let's unmask, see how we got on. Okay, we're looking good so far. Might have a bit of bleed at the front here. Oh, okay, we're okay there. A wee bit there we had, but I might just leave that. Okay, not too bad. Happy enough with that. So the next thing to do, this is the last of the paint. We'll just mask off the cap rail now. So we just make sure we get the masking tape up under the ridge there. Okay. So we're all masked up ready for the brown cap rail and the inner walls of the well here. Now I'm going to use Mr. Color C43 Wood Brown. Just as a note, I've been using the pin vise to hold the cocktail stick rather than my fingers because it's narrow. You're gripping a fair bit to manoeuvre it, and it kind of stresses your hand. So in the pin vise, it's a lot easier to manoeuvre and hold. So that's all the paintwork done. So let's get into the final unmasking. Enjoy unmasking. That's that. A couple of bits needed touched up where the browns went through. And got my masking it wrong. That bit should be grey. So I'll just go back in with a brush and just touch up that. But that's it. I'm quite pleased how they've turned out. Still can't settle on a colour for the wood, the two woods though. So with all the paintwork finished, it's now time for the fit out with the remaining parts. So I've prepared these previously, pretty straightforward. So I just need to remove these cocktail sticks. Hopefully it's not too bad. Be worried. I'd overglued them a bit. The bond's easy broken. So we'll start with the front and work back. So we've got the funnels or ventilators at the bow. And as we did for the other ones, we just use some crystal clear. Okay. So moving on to the funnels now. These are painted up with Tamiya black. And I'll just use super glue gel. Okay, so we'll prepare the carbons next, as well as the ship's wheel. So the carbons were painted up with the brown, the same as the capping rail here. The handrails are painted with Vallejo brass, but I don't like it, it's very sparkly. I'll fit it anyway, we might come back and change it. So what I'm going to do is just place some tape, just so I can get the position dialed in, without worrying about getting it in the right place once the glue's on. So kind of using the joints and the deck to line up in the centre. So I just use Vallejo flat brown to paint it with brush. And I'll just use some super glue. Okay, so I just lined it up with that deck plank, and the support's actually got an angle to fit against the angle in the rear cabin. For this cabin, I should really have put in some extra plastic to give a bit more gluing surface, but I'll just have to trust the super glue. I'll just put some just right in the corners. And then line it up with the tape. So the next thing to install is this bracket here. and that goes on the stern. And you can see the rudder position there. So the top plate here is for the top of the rudder. Now, I'll probably do this off camera. It's going to be awkward. It's so small and I need to get it positioned properly. So it actually hangs over the end of the deck there. So it's not ideal. But what I'll do is that center join in the plank will be the center of this hole here. And you can hopefully see it's got a wider plate. If I hold that wider plate edge to the edge of the stern, that should be in the right position. It's going to be very awkward, so I'll do it off camera. I'll just use super glue gel to glue it as well. Pretty much got it there. So for the rudder, okay, so the paint's kind of filled the hole in a bit because it was a good fit previously. Slowly working it up because I don't want to break any part off. Okay, so it's kind of in position. Do is I'll just make a pencil mark here because I'll need to paint the lower part. Before I do that, we've got the propellers, the screws to put on. I just need to give them a bit of a bend. Okay, so I drilled the center hole a bit wider. And I just use some super glue. So that's it. We'll just get the rudder painted up and put on and then we'll be done. Okay, so the rudder's painted up now. So we'll get that installed. Just make sure it's lined up straight. And I'm just going to lock in place with some super glue thin. The last thing to put on is these chocks. Now, touch your super glue at the end edge there. And these go on. Of course, the paint's just coming off the brass. So there's supposed to be chocks at the front as well, but I'm not going to do them at the moment because I'm actually going to call them done now. I didn't bother or get around to doing the fenders, and that's why I wanted to hold off on doing the chocks because they're going to be required for the position of them. But these have taken far too long, and the video is far too long as well, so I'm just stopping now. There's a few bits and pieces I need to touch up, just where the paint's been scraped off the brass. But on the whole, I'm very happy how they've turned out. I like the paint. It was well worth the effort, masking up and spraying the different colours and whatnot. Okay, so I think that's it done as far as I want to go.